morning to you once again. You're still watching Smart Men's Business. My name is Chantal Akanidan in studio. I am with Andrew Barije. Good morning.
Good morning, Chantal.
How are you doing?
Great.
Ready for the weekend, I can see.
Very.
If they could give us a full shot.
I wish I could, but I'm really excited.
They could give us a full shot of how you're dressed today. You're ready for the weekend.
Really, I just woke up. It's a normal Friday to me, though.
Friday is not normal for most of us, but please continue.
Yeah, it's quite a little bit normal. So I just woke up feeling like, hey, I feel like I should be on my normal, So
this is your normal on a Friday.
Yeah, that's my normal on a Friday.
Well, I think Fridays like yours. Why would I be in a dress on a Friday? But let's get away from that. It's time for Karibu East Africa. Let's check out what is happening in the East African countries. And to start off, we are going straight into Kenya. Now, the Central Bank of Kenya has raised the base lending rate further to 8.75%. from 8.25% in a bid to tame runaway inflation in the economy amidst elevated global crisis. Increase of 50 basis points signals a higher cost of loans for Kenyan borrowers who are currently grappling with high cost of living. Now, the Kenyan Central Bank noted that food inflation rose to 15.8% in October from 15.5% in September, largely due to prices of maize and milk following a reduced supply attributed to depressed rains and edible oils and wheat products due to the impact of international supply chain disruptions. Further, fuel inflation increased to 12.6% in October from 11.7% in September, mainly due to the scaling down of the fuel subsidy, increases in electricity prices due to higher tariffs, and increases in transport costs. On the positive end, the Kenyan Central Bank noted that inflation pressures are showing signs of abating in some major economies but remain elevated, mainly reflecting high energy prices and persistent supply chain challenges. Two of the surveys conducted ahead of the MPC meeting, the CEO survey and market perceptions survey, revealed sustained optimism about business activity and economic growth prospects for 2022 and 2023. The optimism was attributed to increased economic activity following the conclusion of the elections, opportunities for growth in sectors such as ICT, and the government's renewed focus on MSMEs. The survey of the agriculture sector conducted in the first half of the month revealed that prices of some key items moderated in November. Additionally, respondents expect output for most agricultural products to increase in the next harvest on account of improved weather conditions and increased acreage. Nevertheless, respondents identified transport costs due to high fuel prices, unpredicted weather conditions, and the cost of inputs such as seeds and fertilizers, and those are major factors constraining agricultural production in Kenya. According to the Central Bank of Kenya, the banking sector remains stable and resilient, and with strong liquidity and capital adequacy ratios. The ratio of gross non-profit performing loans to gross loan stood at 13.8% in October 2022 compared to 14.2% in August. He noted that the committee will meet again in January 2023, but remains ready to reconvene earlier if necessary. That is what is happening in Kenya, and well, it's turning in balance.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem so good. It doesn't seem so bad.
Yeah.
Yes. Let's. I don't know. According to the East African community, it was. Oh, this is a. I think this is what is happening with the African Development Bank. You might want to tell us what is happening across there.
Actually, I would see the aspect of the East African community urge to modernize agriculture, as the African Development Bank says agriculture and industrialization are the key areas for East African community, of course, to ensure development. All right, the development, a lender backs its depreciation, its prediction on the fact that the regions between 75% and 90% of its population depends on agricultural activities. The argument based on the fact that if agriculture sector is well developed and linked with industrialization drive, then it will free the majority of the population from living below $1 a day. And of course, that one fact, according to the African Development Bank, is that the value of Africa's food market is expected to be more than triple in value by 2030. That's 1 trillion. That's 1 trillion US dollars annually. The bank says that efficient agriculture production means lower costs of food, which in small households can be as high as 20% of the budgets. Increasing productivity and lowering that's the cost of food, therefore means households will spend less of their incomes on food, which releases funds for other essentials such as health and education. Similarly, high productivity of cheap raw materials can also support the agro-processing industry. Cheap, high quality and consistent raw materials can only be acquired that's through modernized agricultural system by freeing excess labor from agriculture and transferring it into the manufacturing sector. However, modernizing the sector needs huge support from authorities, and it should start by educating that's the balance on the best practice and putting the right, of course, policies in place and arranging for their markets. For instance, the expectation of Burundi and South Sudan and of course the rest of the member states have stock markets and are cooperating at the same time. The exchange facilities, the exchange facilitates business to thrive on a good platform, of course, to secure working capital through IPOs, or what we know as issue public offerings or issuance of corporate bonds. But on the other hand, there is no single commodity, of course, exchange in the region. In Tanzania and Kenya, both have coffee and tea auctions, but not an exchange, of course, for various commodities. The Tanzania exchange rate is yet to officially definitely open its door regarding that. Of course, such commodities are for the poor and face abusive prices from farmers who are getting, of course, dictated by the prices from the middlemen, and hence a good starting point for the farmers to realize their potentials where necessary. And of course, they will also increase the region agriculture cooperation. At the same time, this means that the African Development Bank, its advice on agriculture and industrialization in the East African community, Secretariat should be taken in totality, since it will create hunger in the region. It will eliminate hunger in the region and enhance economic growth on all fronts. Yeah, so modernization of agriculture. But I think because I was trying to review some footage regarding the East African agriculture, and I see quite there is a positive embracement like regarding the modernization of agriculture, and I think this shouldn't be something that should be really emphasized too hard to the East African nations, I'm thinking.
Well, I should say this like this, and it's been a long time coming, so yeah. we should have done this very many years ago.
Very many years ago.
Exactly. But let's first of all go to Tanzania. Yeah. Now, Tanzania begins rationing electricity due to drought. The East African community can produce nearly 1,695 megawatts of power from hydroelectricity and natural gas, among other sources. It is currently facing a shortfall of 300 to 350 megawatts, said Maharage Chande, the managing director of TANESCO, the national power company. There are two main reasons for the drop in production: a prolonged drought and ongoing maintenance of certain sites, he told reporters on the economic capital of Dar es Salaam. The site of Kihansi, for example, in the region of Morogoro, that is the southeast, has seen its production capacity fall from 180 megawatts to only 17 megawatts. Tanzania has been trying to increase its hydroelectricity production in recent years, thanks in particular to the construction of the controversial Julius Nyerere Dam on the Selos Reserve, which was supposed to produce around 2,100 megawatts. Like its neighbors, the country has experienced low rainfall and a delayed rainy season, forcing authorities to impose water rationing in Dar es Salaam last month. The situation is even more dramatic in Kenya, Ethiopia, and Somalia, which are facing the worst drought in decades. Well, I must say this, Uganda should count itself lucky. Lately, it's been raining, heavily and every now and then. So, though the rain took it a little bit far and gave us floods, but regardless, at least we're not part of the countries that are being talked about to be affected by the long stretch of a drought season. And well, we should count ourselves lucky.
Really, quite very lucky, and we see the benefits that these dams. It's very interesting. I'm so amazed in this report that Ethiopia is among the countries that are of course experiencing the rain shortage, and yet it's the very country, I think 3 days back, that is giving out power to Kenya. I'm trying to imagine how do they do it that amidst a drought they're able to actually have those, because I'm trying to look at the aspect that these dams, definitely the water, the higher the water levels, the better. So it's all technology.
Well, let's pray and hope that it's just only been this year and things are going to get better than next. Better. Well, we're going to be crossing over, taking you to Smart Means Business International. We're going to be taking a look at what is happening internationally across the different countries, aside from the neighbors that we have right here. And on the international scene, we start off with Nigeria, which has launched a newly designed currency notes, and this is a move that the West African nation's central bank says will help curb inflation and money laundering. Now, I must say this before I proceed. Many times when you get to an airport and you introduce yourself as a Nigerian, believe me, security will be tightened. I had to say. But let's move on. Experts, however, are skeptical about such results in a country that has battled chronic corruption for decades, with government officials known to loot public funds, causing more hardship for the many struggling with poverty. Launched on Wednesday, the new denominations of 200, that is a $0.46, and 500, that is a $1.15, and 1,000 naira, that is $2.30, are the first time Nigeria's currency has been redesigned in 19 years. The banknotes will be in circulation by mid-December. The naira is long overdue for a new look, Nigerian President, that is Muhammadu Buhari, said at the launch. The new paper notes, designed in Nigeria and featuring enhanced security, will help the central bank to design and implement better monetary policy objectives. More than 80% of the 3.2 trillion naira in circulation in Nigeria are outside the vaults of commercial banks and in private hands, said Godwin, the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria. With inflation at a 17-year high of 21.09%, that is driven by soaring food prices, he said the new notes will bring the hoarded currencies back into the bank system and help the central bank regain control of the money being used in the country. Regulators last month announced a January 31st deadline for old notes to either be used or deposited at the banks. The currency redesign will also assist in the fight against corruption, as the exercise will rein in the higher denomination used for corruption, and the movement of such funds from the bank system could be tracked easily. That is according to Emefiele, who is the governor of the central bank. Now, analysts, however, say the new notes would yield little or no results in managing inflation or in the fight against corruption in the absence of institutional reforms. If you want to curb money laundering, your financial system needs to be better. If you want to curb ransom payment, security needs to be better. If you want to curb inflation, the level at which the total money supply in the economy is growing has to slow down. So it is not about cash, said Adebayo. That is Bakari, the analyst with Lagos-based Money Africa. Well, that is what is happening in Africa and in Nigeria, and well, very many years of inflation and 21.9%, and this is the best that they could come up with. Well, let's wait and see how this plays out. But lastly, at least 133 million people, or 63% of Nigeria's citizens, are multi-dimensionally poor, according to the government statistics. Hopefully this gives some relief to the Nigerians.
Actually, first of all, looking at this particular report, I would totally disagree with this move of creating a new currency. And of course, when the government comes up and makes a statement about, now like here, which says that 133, that's million people, or 63% of Nigerian citizens are multidimensionally poor. Well, I would think, yes, it might be right in a certain sense, but I believe the best way to curb such issues and, putting away the government trying to come up to put up statistics which are a little bit trying to change people's perception about what's really going on. They should really work on their reform. Okay, they should embrace institutional reform. So I would entirely agree with the analysts saying that this won't be in position to solve its intended
that is needed,
and governments should stop giving, I believe now, such statistics, just trying to cover up what's really going on in the background. It's just an African thing.
Well, we shall keep updated. We shall be following up on this very same story, and we'll know if this has actually played out or not. By January 31st. All the old notes need to be back to the bank. Let's wait and see.
But let's wait. We shall see. What you see, policies are implemented, but at the end of the day, if in a place of 6 months, the results have not yet been yielded, when we do the assessment, then we have the right to question that policy.
Yeah, that's very true.
All right, now we head to China, and of course, we see the COVID infections hit a record as economic outlook darkens. China reported a record high COVID-19 infections that was yesterday, with cities nationwide imposing localized lockdowns, and of course mass testing and other curbs that are fueling frustration and darkening the outlook of the world's second largest economy. The resurgence of infections nearly 3 years after the pandemic emerged in the central city of Wuhan, and of course, and casts doubt on investor hopes for China to ease its rigid zero COVID policy soon. And despite the recent more targeted measures, the cuts are taking a toll on lockdown residents as well as output at factories, including world's biggest iPhone plant, and of course, which has been rocked by clashes between workers and security personnel in a rare show of dissent. The streets of Shenyang, the capital's most populous district, have been increasingly empty this week. Sanlitam, a high-end shopping area which was nearly silent yesterday, but for the wearing of the e-bikes of delivery riders ferrying meals for those working that's from home. The brokerage Nomura cut its China GDP forecast, that's for the fourth quarter, to 2.4% a year-over-year from 2.8%, and cut its forecast for full-year growth to 2.8% from 2.9%, which is far short of China's official target of about 5.5% this year. China's leadership has struck by zero COVID, and of course a signature policy for President Xi Jinping, even as much as the world tries to exist with the virus, saying it is needed to save lives and prevent the medical system from being overwhelmed. Acknowledging pressure on the economy, the cabinet said China would use timely cuts, that's in bank cash reserves, and other monetary policy tools to ensure sufficient liquidity. Of course, state media said on Wednesday, that's 2 days back, a hint that a cut in the reserve requirement ratio may come soon. China's stocks fell on yesterday, and of course, as concerns over record high domestic daily COVID-19 cases overshadowed optimism from fresh economic stimuli and missing out on a rise in global stocks to two-month high. Of course, Wednesday's 31,444 local COVID-19 infections broke a record set on April 13th when the commercial hub of Shanghai was crippled by a city-wide lockdown of its 25 million residents that would last 2 months. This time, however, big outbreaks are numerous and far-flung, with the biggest in the southern city of course, Guang. How do they pronounce this? It is quite a little complex here. And the southern Chongqing, although hundreds of new infections are reported daily in cities such as Chengdu, Jinan, then there is Lanzhou and Xi'an. Nomura estimates that more than a fifth of China's GDP is under lockdown, and of course a share bigger than the British economy. China. Now I'm trying to think, lately when we talk about COVID-19, it's like history.
To some countries, it's
some
like
countries,
history, yes.
But it's a reality in China.
Well, it is where it originated from, and some say they're just paying the price for certain things that they don't want to talk about. So maybe it could be what is happening. But we pray and hope that the way they were able to curb it in the first place, they're able to actually curb it and situation stabilizes.
Situation stabilizes.
Yes.
Okay, we hope for that best.
Yes, we do hope for the best in China, and well, that is what we could fetch for you internationally. But we will be returning after this very short break.